Hello everyone, Mr. Tanner here, and we're going to be looking at some major events in Canada's history for these set of notes. So make sure you have your notebook out as we're going through those, and you're going to be writing down the information on each slide. So here we go. Uh, First on our notes is from 1000 CE, 1000 in the Common Era. So, that's 1020 years ago now. This is the first Norse attempt at a settlement in what is now Canada. So, Norse explorers, which often are called Vikings, were the first to meet native humans in Canada and tried to make a settlement, but ultimately the settlement was unsuccessful and they left Canada. Keep in mind, this is almost 500 years before Christopher Columbus sailed across the Atlantic and found the Caribbean islands. So this is a very long time ago in the past. Next, we're jumping ahead almost 500 years to June 24th, 1497. This is when John Cabot landed on the Atlantic, which is the east coast of Canada, and claimed the land on behalf of England. So this is where Canada is claimed by England. Again, that's June 24th, 1497. In the 1600s and going forward for couple hundred years, the French fur trade was a huge deal in the world economy. So the French settled further inland or further to the west than the English did, and there was a huge population of beavers in this area of Canada, and their fur was very valuable. So the French would trap the beavers, they would get their pelts, and then they would trade them to the rest of the world. So this was a huge part of the global economy, and it was the French fur trade. In 1608, Samuel de Champlain established a fort at Quebec for the French. And French is still a huge heritage in Quebec, especially, but a lot of Canada. In fact, Canada has two national languages, English and French. So Samuel de Champlain establishes a fort at Quebec on behalf of the French. That's 1608. Here's a drawing of that fort. In May 1st, 1756 through February 15th, 1763 was the 7 Years' War. And this had a huge impact not only on Canada, since by the end of this war, Canada belonged solely to the English, to the British. France ceded all rights to Canada at this point. But this had a huge impact on America as well. A lot of the British colonials in America fought in this war. This war was also very expensive. So after the war, England started taxing the people in the American colonies. The American colonies did not like that very much and eventually decided to fight for their independence. So the 7 Years' War had a huge impact on starting the American Revolution. And next up is the American Revolution. It's from April 18th, 1775 to October 19th, 1781. The war itself didn't directly impact Canada, but a lot of the people in the colonies at this time didn't want to fight for American independence. They remained loyal to Britain. They were known as British loyalists. And during this time, a lot of those British loyalists migrated up to now Canada to avoid fighting in the war or dealing with consequences of having to choose a side. So a lot of American colonials went up to Canada because of the American Independence War. In August 1st, 1834, slavery was abolished in Britain. Since at this time Canada was still a colony of England, it meant that slavery was also abolished in Canada. And this is 31 years earlier than slavery would eventually be abolished in the United States. So slavery was abolished in Canada, or Britain, and therefore Canada, before slavery was abolished in the United States. On December 11th, sorry, skipped one. March 8th, 1867 is the British North American Act, and this is a huge monumental deal in the history of Canada because this granted Canada as an independent country. And after this act, it was an independent country, but it was still within the British Empire. There's still countries like that to this day. So Um, Scotland and Wales are independent countries that are still a part of the British Empire. England is the other country that's in there. So England, Scotland, and Wales make up Britain, and they're all independent countries. Canada used to be a part of that as well. And then there's the United Kingdom that includes Northern Ireland and some other islands around the world as well. But at this point, as of March 8th, 1867, Canada is its own independent country within the British Empire. And then our last date on this timeline of Canada's history is December 11th, 1931. This was the signing of the Statute of Westminster. And this treaty, the statute, fully granted Canada their independence from the English Empire. So they are an independent country. They are no longer a part of that British Empire. They're no longer a part of Britain. However, they still do have the Queen of England. So Queen Elizabeth II is still the Queen of Canada. So they're still linked more closely to England than the United States is, even though they both started out as colonies of England. So that's going to be it for our timeline. Hopefully you pause those anytime you needed to write something down and you have your notes filled out. Make sure you take a picture of those notes with your computer so that you can upload those to the task later on in the blue square section of Unit 3. Thanks.